Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to tell you how, thanks to one, let's say, American company, I lost $600,000 in just one day. Actually, I'd even say it happened in just about an hour. And yeah, if I wanted to make this video just to create some kind of cool hook or clickbait title to get you to watch it, I'd actually be happy about that, because I totally get that some people will watch this video and say, Robert, you're just sharing this kind of information on purpose. Whether it's for hype or some other goal, well, there are always haters, let's be honest, but I'd honestly be glad if that were the case, but it's not. If you don't know me, my name's Robert, and I've been trading for about 11 years now, and I actually run my own Telegram channel on this topic. So if you want to dive a little deeper into my work, you can follow the links below this video and check it out there. Everything I offer is free, and I teach everything for free. And as many of you might think that I lost this money trading. If someone had ever told me that I would lose such a large amount of money, honestly, I have to admit, that's a lot. A whole lot of money. It's still pretty hard for me to think about it, and even now, I keep replaying the situation in my head. I start ruminating, just really getting lost in those thoughts, constantly worrying. But so, what actually caused all this? Because, I'm making this video, first of all, just to get it off my chest. Second, I want to help protect you from situations like this. This all happened to me because, you see, I've always been into trading. And since I trade options, I don't need to have a lot of money. Like, I don't need to have $10, $20, or $30,000 just to make something. For example, I always withdraw my money. I put in a withdrawal request every Friday, and the maximum amount I trade with now is between $7,000 and, well, about $10,000. And that's what I've been withdrawed. I always just use USDT. USDT is basically a crypto dollar, so to speak, that doesn't drop in value and always stays the same price. And actually, I had a wallet that I deposited money into a really long time ago. It was a cold wallet, which I later added to Trust Wallet. And honestly, I didn't use it for several years. So basically, the money just sat there and accumulated. It was a decent amount. Let's put it this way, I always put money in there. Not that I was saving for retirement or anything like that, as people say. I was just saving up in that wallet. A few years go by and I start withdrawing money little by little, taking out small amounts over time. Yeah, so I was just withdrawing money for living expenses, just enough to get by. Then, about 6 months ago, maybe a little more, something happened. America put sanctions on my wallet. And as far as I understand, they sanctioned me because a long time ago, I withdrew money from Russia through a certain exchange several times. So they imposed sanctions on that exchange. And basically on the wallets, as I understood it, that had a significant amount of money and had interacted with that exchange at some point. So just so you understand, basically all crypto, it's obviously traceable. Of course, if it's a cold wallet, or I don't know, you're holding your money in some kind of mixer where no verification is required, then it's impossible to see that this crypto specifically belongs to you. But any transactions can be seen. So, for example, if you know the wallet address of an exchange, you can look it up on TronScan. And then you can see, for instance, which wallets received money from another wallet, or on the flip side, which wallets sent funds to the wallet you're looking at. Basically, all transactions are visible. That's actually why it's called a blockchain. I ended up getting sanctioned, so the wallet became 100% sanctioned. And there are AML bots out there. By the way, there's actually a collection of all the AML bots that let you check if you're under sanctions. You can check if your crypto is clean or dirty, check any wallets, and so on. I'll put together a list of these bots in my Telegram channel. So check it out, there's going to be a lot of useful info there, and you can check everything. These are all free, by the way. Of course, there are paid services too, but I'll share both the free and paid options there. So basically, all that money of mine got flagged as being under sanctions, and I started to realize I needed to do something about it, since I'd actually been in crypto for quite a while now. I've been working with crypto for a long time, so honestly, it was pretty easy for me to get around all that. And when I was withdrawing, there were times when the platform itself, like Bybit for example, could freeze my funds several times. But we contacted customer support and everything was fine. So my transfers got frozen twice. Like, I'd transfer some amount, $5,000, $10,000, and they could just freeze it. And basically, they always unfroze the funds, and there were never any problems with withdrawing some of the money from that wallet. That's how I was withdrawing money, and again, I'll repeat, I was only taking out a little, just enough to live on. Plus, the exchange rate now, yeah, it started to drop. Basically, over the past year, the dollar has only been falling against the ruble. And I didn't really want to lose a lot of money on that because just imagine what the dollar rate used to be 2 or 3 years ago when I was actually saving it up, and then look at the exchange rate over the past year, so to speak. So I lost money on that too. Honestly, it's pretty tough to talk about all this, I'll tell you straight. So this all happened on May 18th at night. Well, you could say it was the night of the 17th going into the 18th. So I realized I needed to withdraw money again, and I went ahead and made a transfer of about $30,000. That money got frozen again. But I dealt with this before, and even though it's unpleasant, it's not the end of the world. I knew what it was like. I'd already had that experience, so to speak. And then I ended up logging into Trust Wallet through the app. Oh, I forgot to mention here that this wallet, well, I don't think it really matters, but still. Basically, this wallet, I had it on my ledger and I added it to Trust Wallet using the seed phrase. Here, by using the keywords. So basically, you have the same wallet in both places. I'm explaining this just so everyone understands. So I open the app later and see that in my wallet, so I sent those 30,000 and I still had about 600 left. And I see that the money is just gone. Honestly, I got scared because I've heard a lot of stories, you know, in crypto. There's all kinds of scams out there, different schemes and so on. And I'd heard all these stories, so I was really freaked out that, who knows, maybe I sent it to the wrong address or something. Or, you know, there are addresses that just steal your money. Or I thought, maybe I entered something wrong somewhere. But I check my transactions and see that there are no transfers at all. It's just that my wallet refreshed. At the same time, my last transaction matches up with those 30,000. And I'm thinking, well, that's really weird. And just so you know, all of this is happening at night. I start thinking about what I can do. I immediately messaged a friend and explained that he's the one who helped me unlock it before. He says, no, that can't be. It's probably some nonsense. Let's take a look. So basically, we start checking everything in TronScan. And let's say, according to the AML check, it shows that I have 100% sanctions, some kind of unlicensed exchange sources, and basically my crypto's been frozen. Right there in TronScan, there's actually a note about it. Just to remind you, TronScan is a website where you can see all the transactions. I start messaging all my friends, Googling online, even asked Grok, asked artificial intelligence. And I find out that, as it turns out, pretty much all the platforms now, Bybit, Huobi, and so on, they're all getting ready, so to speak, for crypto licensing in America. And they're starting to follow their laws really strictly. And this so-called sanctioned crypto is considered pretty much the worst kind you can get. And the company Tether, which is the one that issues these USDT tokens, is now mostly blocking Russian and Iranian wallets. And it's not even just that they're blocking them. If an exchange just freezes your 30 grand, after you dispute it, they might unfreeze it and give it back. And actually, they already returned at least 30,000, so thanks a lot to the company. But as far as I understand, for example, any exchange employee, when you transfer money, they can freeze those funds. The money's in your account, and for example, they can then check your wallet, see what it is, like, I don't know, if it turns out to be dirty, under sanctions, or something else. They file a complaint against you with the Tether company, and basically that's how everything gets blocked for you. And it's not even just that they block it, they basically burn your coins. So say you have, I don't know, $100,000 for example, they just burn it and basically issue it on their end. These tokens, yeah, so what they do is simply take your money away from you and reissue it themselves. Somewhere in the Federal Reserve in the US, companies, as I already mentioned from what I've seen, only recently started doing this on an almost industrial scale. Literally, in just a couple of months, they've already burned wallets worth over $1 billion or so. And just imagine, as far as I understand, I'm not sure, but if anyone watching is into scripting or automation, so if any of you have advice or suggestions, please be sure to leave them in the comments. But from my side, I'm just telling it like it is. No matter how I transferred it, this would have happened to me anyway. Basically, as it was explained to me, as soon as that money hit the exchange, everything would have been burned anyway, unfortunately. So basically, there really wasn't any way for me to get out of this situation. I filed an appeal with the company, Tether, but I understand that I won't get anything back because of the sanctions and, well, it's not clear who would even deal with this. I checked and the refund rate is about 1 or 2%, so basically it's nothing. So this happened to me on May 18th. It's now the 27th as I'm recording this video, and honestly, it's hard for me to talk about it. So it's been like 9 days and I finally pulled myself together, but it was really tough for me because I lost everything. Honestly, it's just an enormous amount of money. The first day it happened to me, you know, I was lying in bed at night. I just started thinking about how much money that is. Basically, I started having a panic attack. Like everything was just terrible and so on, and it was really hard for me emotionally. And then, when you're just sitting there, your calculator becomes your best friend, because you just sit there. And you keep hearing about some amount, like one of my friends buys something and says, for example, I bought this for such and such amount. I think from my story, considering that I actually started withdrawing that money and that was my safety net, I think you can easily understand that it was, well, not the small amount, let's put it that way. For me, it was a lot of money. And honestly, it was really hard for me, especially since it was Sunday night and I had to trade on Monday. It was really tough for me. With all of that going on, to focus, to somehow get myself back into trading. But I pulled myself together and overall, I did pretty well that week. But it was really hard to pull myself together because I just keep thinking about how much I'm making a month now, for example. And now, in order to get that amount back, so to speak, I'll have to work all over again. And it'll take me a year just to get back to the same results. The results I already had before. And that's if things go well, because, you know, it's not always clear. Sometimes there are good spots, sometimes bad ones. And at that moment, I even thought, you know, if I had lost those same 600,000 in trading, for example, I probably wouldn't have felt as bad about it. Because in that case, I'd understand that it was my fault, and I definitely would have learned some lessons from it. And it's very unlikely that I would have lost that much money all at once, you know, not in a snap of a finger, not in an hour, not even in a day. But here, you just lose it, just like that, and you realize it. And on top of that, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's probably the scariest part, you know? Because you can look at events in your life where you lose money as something that's meant to teach you a lesson. And I did learn mine. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll tell you what thoughts I had, but if that money had been spent on something, then obviously that would have been a better outcome, so to speak. Well, as I'm telling this now, you can probably tell it's hard for me. I apologize if I'm dragging out my thoughts or having a hard time saying things, because honestly, in the first few days, I was in such a state that I'd be riding my motorcycle, looking at the road, and I don't know, nothing made me happy at all. I didn't feel any emotions from anything. There were even some sketchy moments on the road, and at that point I'd think, well, even if something happens, honestly, I just don't care anymore. You fall into this kind of state, you know, like a trance or something, when you're looking at something and you're in this state, your eyes, I don't know, they're just completely different. You don't really have the energy or motivation to do anything either, because you start to wonder, what's the point of any of this anyway? So what conclusions? From all this? Did I do it? I don't know, you trade there on Binarium, on Pocket. Well, in short, you withdraw. Where does the money come from? If you have an amount of, I don't know, up to $100,000, then it is very unlikely that you will experience coin burning. Because there are, so to speak, block lists where wallets are indicated, which are somehow marked, or where coins are burned and so on. I found my wallet there, and while I was looking for it, out of curiosity, I looked there for a month to see who had it, which wallets were blocked. And I can say right away that, I don't know, even for $200,000, well, maybe around $200,000. I saw one wallet like that, but that's almost the bare minimum. There were amounts like There were amounts like 1.2 million. I saw someone had $12.5 million blocked. One wallet was blocked for $115 million. So you can imagine the sums there are just, well, truly colossal, so to speak. So if you don't have some huge amount of money there, you probably don't need to worry. So the worst that could happen to you is probably just a block. From some exchange, for example. Pretty much everyone who's dealt with this, I've talked to people too, everyone's been fine, meaning any exchange. Eventually, they'll unblock it all, and it's clear that even though things are getting stricter now, so basically there's a good chance you'll be able to recover everything. I'm talking specifically about the kind of situation I went through. But if you have a lot of money, or if for some reason my story made you nervous, then what should you do? Then I realized, what's the very first thing you need to do? You should always check your wallet at least once a month. Just log in, I'll say it again, I'll leave a link to the wallet checker in my Telegram. So you paste your wallet address there and it tells you if it's clean or not, what percentage of your funds are considered dirty, and so on. And keep in mind, you don't have to be doing anything bad to end up with sanctioned or dirty money. It could just be that your sender or any exchange or even some random swap service is involved. So it could all come from them, and you should always check this. Because, for example, let's say you check before a transfer and then you see that the money arrives and your wallet suddenly becomes dirty. At least then you can make a claim against the exchange or the person who sent you the money. I realized that first and foremost, you always need to check wallets. That's the most important thing. The second thing I realized, and I'm about to say something that everyone really needs to remember, is times have changed a lot now. If before there really were people who kept their crypto on cold wallets for years without worrying, now things are different. Again, I don't know, maybe someone will watch this and say that's not true. I'm sharing my personal experience and the experience based on what I've discussed. You can keep your money on a Ledger wallet. Yes, on a cold wallet, for example. It doesn't matter whether it's a Ledger or not, or a Tangem or whatever else. You keep your money there and it just sits for a year, 2 or 3, for example. You don't make any transfers, you don't withdraw this crypto, and you don't receive any either. And this money of yours never goes to any exchanges in any way. And just imagine, any exchange could later flag your wallet as dirty after your very first transfer, simply because you never ran your money through exchanges. In other words, they basically never checked whether your funds were clean or not. You never had any of that. No AML checks for several years. And for any exchange, your wallet could already be considered dirty because why the hell has that money been sitting there for 3 years? And basically, they just dropped out of any processes. And I realized that this shouldn't happen either. And what's even more interesting, just imagine, here's what happened in my case. Basically, my money has been sitting there for several years. And for example, I really did get some of it from some exchange back then, and everything was great. Then at some point, say the US imposes something, sanctions on that exchange, and at the same time, they might flag large wallets that interacted with it. Even though, after the fact, just imagine, you could be holding a huge amount of money. Or, for example, you send that money to someone, or you receive it from someone, and so on. Yeah, just imagine, for any other person, for example, sanctions could be imposed. Sanctions, or maybe the situation could even be the other way around. Maybe another person is working with some exchange. Yeah, making exchanges there. Let's say money is being exchanged on that exchange, and then sanctions are imposed on a person, but you, for some reason, were trading with them. Why are you trading with them? And if they sent you a transfer, or you sent them transfers, even in that case, you could also end up facing sanctions. When I started thinking about this, I thought, this is just nonsense, really. Like, it actually goes this far? So how can you protect yourself from this? For example, I came to the conclusion that no matter how much people praise crypto or how much they love it, if you're looking to hold for the long term and not worry, it probably makes sense to look at some other coins. Honestly, I don't know. I won't say which ones, so no one thinks I'm recommending anything. Secondly, when it comes to my own work, you also need to consider how you use crypto, what you actually need it for, and so on. For example, I withdrew a certain amount of money from the platform to my wallet. I realized it's better to change these wallets every time, or at least every 2 weeks or once a month, just so there aren't any particular interactions or connections there. Then I realized that it is better never to hold some huge amount of money in one wallet. That is, it is better. I don't know how to distribute them here. For example, they took $500,000, created 10 wallets, put 50 into each, and everything would be calmer because of all these blockings and especially the burning of funds. After all, it really only happens to wallets that have a lot of money in them. I mean, no one is interested in $50,000, at least for now, though that could change. And write in the comments later if you've ever had your funds blocked or burned. I'm curious because among all my acquaintances, I've only met one person to whom this happened, and I told him this story. And literally the next day, he starts checking his wallets. He also decided to withdraw his funds. Long story short, he also ended up losing most of his money there. So I realized that if you have the opportunity, if you're okay with the exchange rates and so on, it's better to just withdraw everything. Just take it out in cash. Or somehow avoid this altogether. Try to steer clear of it. After that situation, I started to feel afraid. Like, crypto isn't really all that reliable. And honestly, it kind of changed my mindset a bit. Because before, I never had any fears or worries about it at all. But in our world, you see, everything changes pretty fast. You never really know where you might run into some kind of scam. I should also mention that after all this, I decided to take a short course of mild sedatives, so to speak. The worst part is when you start constantly overthinking everything. And I'm being honest with you, recording this video and sharing my story really helps me. It genuinely makes me feel better. Because by telling my story, first of all, I get it off my chest, and second, maybe I can help some of you avoid similar consequences. And so, the same kind of, unfortunate ones. And thank God, it wasn't my last money. I still have some left. But I did lose a huge part of my savings. So overall, it really hit me hard. But on the other hand, now I realize that I simply have no other option but to throw myself into work as much as possible and earn as much and as quickly as I can. Because the longer I dwell on the fact that I'm in this situation, the more I realize that this is really a huge loss, the worse I'll probably feel. Now, a week later, my motivation to work has become much stronger. That money, well, as I already said, there's a 98 to 99% chance I'll never get it back. And I don't know, of course, if someday the sanctions are lifted, then who knows? Could I get it back then? I can't even imagine that right now. But I know that no matter what, we'll get through this. And I guess what I want to tell each of you is that there really are no hopeless situations in life. I get that right now, there's a global crisis going on. And it was exactly during this tough historical moment that this happened to me. Feeling down? And constantly thinking about it, because honestly, you do keep thinking, like, I could have done this or that. Well, maybe it's just not worth it. If you want to see this path of growth, so to speak, what results I'm getting, what I'm achieving, and so on, then once again, you can always check out my Telegram. I post signals there every day, and overall, I share news analysis too. Basically, we have this trick community. And there, I'll basically be showing how quickly I can make it back. Recover, I don't know. I'll do my best to make it happen. I really hope that this year, 2026, since that rough patch in my life is already behind me, or at least I hope it is, now it's finally time for things to turn around for the better. And honestly, I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life. Losses this serious? But I think that no matter what, we'll be able to handle these losses and achieve some great results. At least that's what I want to believe. I'll be honest with you, I'm not exactly an optimist, but I definitely don't like to get discouraged. Well, okay, sometimes I do. Sometimes I do like to mope a bit, of course, but it's time to put an end to that. I hope this video, I don't want to freak anyone out or anything. Like, I'm not trying to scare you or anything like that. I'm not saying that everything's gonna get blocked for everyone or that things will go badly for everyone. No, what I'm saying is that for most people, I think, and honestly with a pretty high probability, everything will be just fine for you. Especially if the amounts aren't that big. If I can help at least one person, even just one person who watched this video, save, I don't know, maybe $100, $200, $300, $500, $1,000, or maybe even more, then I'll feel like making this video was worth it. And most importantly, try to learn from other people's mistakes, not your own. Because unfortunately, even though I made this video, maybe it'll get 5,000 views, or 3,000, or 2. But unfortunately, I had to learn from my own mistake. And I hope none of you will ever have to go through the same thing. Thanks all for watching this video. Honestly, I'd say I really do need some support right now, at least emotionally. So if you liked it, you can support me by giving it a like. You can leave a comment or share this video with your friends and acquaintances so that, first of all, they can protect themselves too, and second, so that they don't think that crypto is completely safe, that nothing will ever happen to it. Thanks again to everyone for watching. See you at the next trading session. See you in my other videos. That's it for now, friends. Bye, everyone.